Hello from Foodie Headquarters. So today I want to have a chat with you for a couple of minutes about why is your gut health important. I know that not every one of you is as excited about this beautiful organ as I am, but there are a lot of amazing people out there who know it far better than I do that are super excited. Even one of them I know called Dr. Megan Rossi, she calls it a beautiful organ. So why do we all think about it as a beautiful organ, as something super, something amazing? Why do we want to know more about it? Well, the gut is actually central to all of our health. So the gut impacts all of our body systems, and what do I mean about that? Well, it talks to all of the body organs. It talks to all parts of the body. It's not just talking to the brain, or it's not just talking to the heart. It's talking to everything, and it's sharing really cool information. And that cool information comes from the microbes that reside within your gut. So we've got to remember that the gut is an organ, and it's part of the gastrointestinal tract, which goes from your mouth to your anus, and it's about 8 to 9 meters long, go figure. But within that, you've got that ecosystem of microbes, which are bacteria, fungi, parasites, all these good stuff that reside in there. What does the gut impact? The first thing that the gut impacts is digestion, and that's kind of normal for you to think about, because you think about when you feel gut, when you think about your gut, when you think about digestion, you often feel poorly if you've had a meal and you've eaten it really, really fastly. But your gut does impact, and the microbes within that gut do impact the absorption of nutrients. They make nutrients like vitamin K, and they regulate the production of bile, which helps you break down fat. So there's a huge role in there, also involved in metabolism. So a big role in there. The other part that the microbes and the gut impact on is your immune system. So your immune system is like your defense system. It's like your sentry on the tower, or your soldiers. They're out there, they're primed and ready to respond and react to anything that it considers a threat to your body. How might you know that your immune system is extremely primed? Well, autoimmune conditions are something that you might think about there, but what we would look at is in terms of tolerance. And people might often come to me and say, I just don't know what I'm intolerant to, or I have lots of food sensitivities, and it's just a sign for me to think about, well, what's going on in the gut? Because what we do know is that when there is an imbalance in that bacteria or in those microbes within the gut, the good bacteria are lower than they should be, or maybe some of the bad bacteria are crowding out, means they're getting out of control. They're involved with conditions that we might be feeling alongside those intolerances. So you might notice IBS type symptoms, or even in terms of diabetes can be impacted by your gut health. So that's how the immune system is involved. But the one that I really, really love is the gut-brain axis. And this is how your gut and your brain talk to each other. And why would we even want to think about that? Well, I think it is kind of generally accepted now that we do know that our diet is important for our mental health, but the science and the evidence that we're finding out is that it's proving what we've kind of instinctively known or intuitively known, and the science is now saying that our diet can actually be really influential on our mood. It's also influential in terms of our pain response and in terms of our satiety, so allowing us to stop eating when we feel fullness, and maybe reducing those times where we eat beyond fullness and then end up feeling uncomfortable afterwards. So one trial that I wanted to talk to you about, which is why I got excited along with many other people, and probably spent more time researching and reading around this whole area of the gut-brain axis, was the SMILES trial. And what they did in the SMILES trial was, the aim of it was to look at the role of the diet in supporting your mental well-being. And it's really important that to have this kind of high quality research coming out. So this was a randomized control trial, which is considered your gold standard of research. And it was the first study of its kind that looked at, if I improve my diet, will I improve how I feel? The trial finished in 2015, and what they did was they looked at, for people who are experiencing depression symptoms, and they were looking at their current health conditions as well, and making sure that there was nothing going on, that there was just purely depression symptoms, so that they had a nice tight group that were equal. And then they divided them into two, and they offered talk therapy on one side, and then they offered dietary intervention, which also included talk therapy on the other side. So they had nutrition counselling and education. And they followed a diet of Mediterranean diet, which you've heard me talking about before, and I won't go into that now. But the aim was to see which group had the greatest reduction in symptoms. And what the trial found was that the dietary intervention group found that they felt the best afterwards. What I love about this trial is that it was not measured on physical. So it wasn't measured on your body weight or your physical activity. What they measured was the greatest reduction in symptoms, in feelings. And you know me, I love my feelings. So this was really, really powerful for me to know and understand in terms of supporting people to adopt and embrace dietary changes when you're beginning to notice that your mood. We've all known it, you know, when you've overeaten maybe sometimes, or when you've eaten wrong, if you had a couple of days where you just haven't had access to the kinds of foods that feel good for your body, you can begin to feel it in your mood. The great thing about what we are also learning is that it's so easily managed and so easily adapted with the right support and with the right learning. So that's why I wanted to share this with you today, is that sometimes if you feel like your mood is off and you're reaching for all the right kinds of foods, it's just to share with you that like there is this gut-brain connection, and it can be very mixed up sometimes. What's like the worst for us, what we don't really want to be eating because we know we're going to feel worse afterwards, is what our body is craving. And that will also play back into those microbes in your gut, and I could talk about that some other time. But really important for me to remind you that your gut is so important in terms of how you feel, in terms of your mood. And how we feel is what's really really significant in terms of physical health, emotional health, social health. The WHO, that's what we talk about health. These are health behaviors, these are health, these are the measurements that we have on someone's health. It's not on their, as I said earlier, it wasn't looking at their body weight, it wasn't looking at what physical activity they were doing, it was looking at how they were feeling. So there we go, that's what I'm sharing with you today from Foodie.